right, coming up next, it's a light heavyweight tilt between Anderson the Spider Silva and Tito Ortiz.
Let me ask you guys this. Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys really think this is going to be a great fight? Let me go to this. Our decent boxing career. But who would have thought Tito Ortiz versus Anderson Silva would be anything? Like, Tito Ortiz was not the best boxer. I mean, is it the fact that these fighters need money and that's why they're going into boxing? I mean, the last time Anderson Silva fought in a boxing match, he did good, right? But the thing is, he didn't, it wasn't like a Logan Paul or Jake Paul kind of fight. What I mean by that is, it wasn't a big draw fight. Like, who in their right mind thought, oh, I'm going to watch Anderson Silva because it's not getting publicity? I wouldn't even have known Anderson Silva was fighting anybody. And I think I was on, where was I, YouTube or Instagram or something, and I seen Tito Ortiz saying he was preparing to fight Anderson Silva. And I'm like, in a boxing match? That's terrible. Because as you can see, Tito Ortiz is a wrestler. He never had the greatest striking. And you're talking Anderson Silva. He has the best striking in MMA. And he's had a few boxing matches where he's done pretty dang good for himself. So I think he's actually like 3-0 or something, or 2-0 or something like that as a professional boxer. So he has a skill set in the bobbing and weaving and the actual skill set. So they say they're going to be doing it at 195. But I just think it's a weird situation to have Anderson Silva versus Tito in a boxing match. That's just weird. It's like these weird boxing matches now. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I think Tito Ortiz might be doing it straight for the money. And that's it, because these boxing matches are making hella more money than they would doing it in the MMA space, that's for sure. Do I think Anderson Silva in his prime would light Tito Ortiz the hell up? Oh, hell yeah. In a boxing match? I don't know. But in a MMA fight, I think absolutely Anderson Silva would light his ass up. Anderson Silva's a beast when it came to the stand-up game. And, even in Tito's prime, I don't think he could hang and bang with Anderson Silva. The only thing he could do against Silva would be wrestling, but when it comes to straight boxing, there ain't no way you're outboxing Anderson Silva. That's a joke. So, I see it as a Tito Ortiz going in there for the big payday. It's going to be in Hollywood, Florida, at the Hard Rock Casino. So, I'm definitely, like I said, okay with him. I mean, get your paper, but who would have thought these two would actually be going to be competing? Like Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz. That's not actually a fight I would care to see. Like, I'm pumped up to see, but I'll definitely tune in and see it, like, or find a video and watch it. But I definitely think, like I said, it's a very unique thing that these mixed martial artists who are done basically fighting in mixed martial arts are going to boxing, where they can make 3 times the amount of money that they had as a MMA guy. But we all know Tito Ortiz is a decent stand-up guy, but you ain't going to be able to compare to Anderson Silva. There's no way you're going to be able to beat Anderson Silva. I just think Anderson Silva's just going to mop him up, make it look easy. But I think competitive than people think it's going to be. It's not going to be one of these weird-ass Jake Paul fights where it's a non-fighter versus a non-fighter. Like a basketball guy versus somebody like that. But let me know what you guys think, man, because it's very, very kind of weird that, like I said, this fight is getting no publicity. No one's talking about it, but Anderson Silva is going to be competing against Tito Ortiz. Is it that Tito Ortiz and Anderson Silva really aren't relevant anymore? And that's why they're going the aspect of the MMA space and going, no, we're not doing MMA anymore because they're out of their prime and they would get hurt, but they're willing to put on the gloves and compete at a high level. I don't know if you call it a high level, but decent level at that. But when it comes to straight boxing, the only guy I think could actually box as good as Anderson Silva is the Diaz brothers and Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya could probably do a hell of a lot better, but I definitely think if it came to straight mixed martial arts, I still think, even though Silva's like 45, 46 years old, because he hasn't taken so much damage in his career, that is the reason he can still hang and bang and still do it. People like Tito Ortiz, who have gotten beat down and beat up, they're not going to be the best when it comes to boxing. But I just think Tito Ortiz, from what I heard, is taking it on short notice, so that's why he might not be able to do it. Because he goes, well, I just came back from a 20-mile bike ride. Yeah, you look like you're in good shape, but are you really in that good of shape? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get in shape to get to 195. And he had like a couple weeks to get down there, like 2 weeks to get down to that weight. But that's crazy when you literally really think about it. It's really crazy when you really sit back and think about it, that he's taking this fight. He looked like he was in decent shape. He even says in the video, he's all, I'm on okay shape. Like, he's not in fighting shape, but he's in, like, you look at the guy and you go, he's physically in shape. Like, he looks like he's been working out, right? Because they're both in their 40s, but Anderson Silva is a different 40, right? Because he's taking less damage than what Tito Ortiz is taking. Because Tito Ortiz, the last time I seen him fight was, Chuck Liddell? And yes, he did beat Chuck Liddell, but Chuck Liddell in that fight looked very, old, like an old version of himself. Tito Ortiz was still competing in Bellator, from what I understand. And he was doing pretty decent, but overall, I'm still taking Anderson Silva for that fight. I think it's going to go probably all, whatever it is, like 5 rounds, 8 rounds, 6 rounds, whatever. And I think Anderson Silva is going to win by decision, just based on the pure fact that he has better skill set than Tito Ortiz. And you can see it when he fought Rich Franklin, when he fought Israel Adesanya. You can see it when he fought Dan Henderson. The dude still has great stand-up, still has tremendously good boxing. And that's the thing that Anderson had from day one, is the boxing skill set. He's a very good Muay Thai striker, so that's one reason why he was able to go to traditional boxing and do pretty damn good for himself, because for the fact that he's already had that head bobbing and weaving, when a lot of these MMA fighters are traditional MMA boxers, when Anderson Silva is a traditional Muay Thai striker with hella good head movement and boxing. Just go back to any Anderson Silva in his prime fights, especially when he fought somebody like a Chris Lieben or something. Mother trucker was dominating from bell to bell, beating ass, landing 100% of his strikes, and no one had ever seen striking like that in mixed martial arts. They were just like, what is this? But when you think of Tito Ortiz, you think of a brawler with good wrestling and tremendously good takedowns and good ground and pound. And that's what it is. But As always, it's your boy Trevor back with another video. I just definitely giving you my opinion. I think Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz has a very unique factor to it, like an interest factor, but I just don't think it's getting any notoriety because no one's talking about it. Like I said, it's a fight that's getting overlooked, and people are going to go, yep, it's another fight that no one cares about. And I think it's because these guys are out of their prime, fighting on a weird fight card with nobody. The only people that are talking about it is they're talking about Evander Holyfield fighting, and that's all they're talking about. Because he's fighting Vitor Belfort. But they're not talking about Anderson Silva is going to be on that fight card. And I bet Anderson Silva is probably going to put on the best show out of anybody. Because even though he's still old, he's still able to compete at a decent level. But these weird, I don't know if it's just a new thing where these weird MMA fighters and old boxers are needing money, or if it's just a new avenue for boxing where people are willing to turn into these non-traditional freak fights and watch them and enjoy them. Because you got to look at it like that, because I would say a lot of these are kind of like freak fights. And even GSP wants to fight Anderson Silva in a straight boxing match. They should make that shit happen. That might be more of a competitive fight than Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz. At least I think so. But with that being said, guys, we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.